Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Insurance Journal's Academy of Insurance's weekly webinar Aftershow. I'm your host, George, and joining me for the Aftershow today is the Director of the Academy of Insurance, Mr. Patrick Great, and today's instructor. Today's class had a toe tapper of a name, Forward into the Past, Certificates of Insurance, Additional Insureds, and Other Contractual Risk Transfer Issues. And today's instructor, Mr. Bill Wilson. Bill, it's great to have you in the Aftershow, and I didn't realize this, but it's your first Aftershow, and you're already a wonderful guest. So I just by being Bill Wilson, so I really appreciate it. Bill, welcome to the After Show. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So part of the name of the class is Forward into the Past. I know this is a current class on certificates of insurance, but what did you mean by calling it Forward into the Past? If I could ask you that question.
Well, it's first of all, it's a reference to a skit by something called the Firesign Theater. For those,
oh yes, Forward into the Past, right? Is that
for yes, any old people that will remember that from the 1960s and 70s? But the reference is I did my first certificate of insurance webinar in at least 15, may have been 20 years ago now. And we had thousands of people that went through this webinar series. I repeated it for a number of years and did it in the seminar format around the country. And things seem to quieten down with all these certificate issues that are problematic for agents. Things seem to have gotten better. And in the meantime, I semi-retired 9 years ago from the Big I when I was doing all this. And over time, I still keep my foot in the door in the insurance industry with some things that I'm doing. But over time, I started seeing the same questions that came up 15 or so years ago. And it dawned on me that we have a new generation of agents and underwriters and attorneys and contractors and loan officers and banks and so forth. So what goes around comes around. It's deja vu all over again, or whatever you want to call it. I said we're repeating the past, so maybe it's time to do another certificates of insurance webinar. So that's the source of the title.
I think that was I can't remember the name of the album, but we'll figure it out. But I do know that line. It was really familiar to me. So you said you've been giving this class 15, 20 years. Do you see a lot of changes in certificates of insurance? Does it change a lot every year, or is it just kind of like you said, worth retelling or reshowing to new generations of insurance professionals?
Yeah, I don't think much of anything has changed. I went for a number of years without. I didn't do a certificate seminar or webinar for probably. I don't think I've done one since I semi-retired from the Big I 9 years ago. So it's been a long time since I did any certificate. I may have done a couple 6, 7 years ago, but what I started seeing was exactly the same questions that I saw 15 or 20 years ago, but probably by people that were, in the third grade or something back at that time. So that's why I thought it might be time to do another one. That it's nothing much has really changed. I think there may be probably more online certificate work than there was in the past with technology enhancement, but it's still the same issues.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much. Patrick, what do you think of certificates of insurance in general? A necessity, a necessary evil, whatever, and of Bill's class today in particular, the amazing return of Bill Wilson?
Yeah, so certificates in general are evil. Simply because of everything that Bill brought out today. And it's something that Bill had mentioned oftentimes in both an agency and my background's from a company background. And by and large, certificates and additional insured endorsements get relegated to the folks who are least qualified to handle them, who don't understand everything they're doing with those things. And so that's how you end up with certificates that say crazy things, or endorsements that say crazy things, or simply just do not meet the needs of the contract. And this is a topic that is difficult only because people make it more difficult than it needs to be. In my mind, the lawyers or the contract drawer uppers people just need to understand that all the stuff they're asking for, they cannot have. And as Bill said, he talked to company people that say, underwriters that say that they don't want to see certificates. And when I was an underwriter, if I had an agent that was producing certificates, I wanted copies, and I wanted to know that they were doing it right, and not doing something that they shouldn't be. For example, I had one agency that wanted to misstate the limit of insurance on the umbrella. They didn't want to show the full limit. They wanted to show a lower limit. Now, you can't do that. That's falsifying that document, and somebody's going to get in trouble, and is not going to be me.
Yeah, if I could jump in on that, specifically with limits, you have somebody who's a contractor entering a job that requires $2 million in liability coverage, and they actually have $5 million with CGL and umbrella, but they only want the agent to show $2 million on the certificate. Well, you're right. That's a misrepresentation. If you read what the Accord 25 says, it says to put the policy limits of the actual policy limits of the forms that you're certifying. You're not certifying honestly what's available. The whole issue of certificates and are they worth it? All that, they do have some value, but on most often they're accompanied by additional insured requests, or they're issued to verify additional insured status. And it's always been problematic for me. I don't want to rely on anybody else's insurance for anything. I want my coverage. And by and large, the people requesting AI status do have coverage of their own. They want to tap into the other one first, but why would you want to be represented in court by attorneys hired by an insurance company you know nothing about, that you had no dealings with? You have no idea in many cases, of the actual coverage provided or the quality of the defense. If it's your own insurance company, you're bound to have more input into the competency of the defense that you're getting than you would having somebody else's insurance company. You're a general contractor doing hundreds of millions of dollars in jobs, and you're relying on an insurance policy of a two-man sheetrock subcontractor. It makes, what's the point? Mm-hmm. One other thing before I forget, I know you guys know Chris Barand out of Colorado, agency management consultant. Chris is a brilliant insurance guy. And years ago, I worked with him and said, I wonder how much issuing certificates of insurance actually costs when you consider the agent's time, when you consider the underwriter's time, the contractors, and all this kind of stuff. And so we tried to figure out, Chris knows agencies inside and out. And so we tried to come up with a figure. And the one we came up with is we think that it costs about $1 billion a year for the industry to issue and service all of these certificates of insurance. And, the question is, monetarily, is it worth all that effort when the end result is you still don't know whether the coverage you want is there? That's why you get that coverage under your own policy and not the sheetrock subcontractors.
Absolutely. Bill, you mentioned throughout your class Shakespeare. You quoted the Rolling Stones a couple of times. How is it? Does that make the teaching the class as interesting, or more? Do you want to make it more relatable to whomever? Like, you kind of throw those things in anecdotally. I'm super interested to know, as opposed to quoting Lloyd's of London or some other insurance people, you try to mix in some arts things, which I think is really cool. Is that something that you've tried to do like your whole teaching career, or did you start doing that and liked it and want to keep doing it?
No, I've always done that. I've been doing this now for many decades, and you always want, if you want people to remember what you say, you have to say it in a way that's memorable. And so I've always, I know you guys know Chris Amrine, and Chris and I have done seminars together. We did one. It was called the Virtual University back when we were both there at the Big I. The Virtual University Top 10 Countdown, or the Top 20 Countdown, and we took 10 or 20 coverage issues, and we set each one to music. So we would have a topic, and we would introduce it with a song that was somehow related, and we had door prizes and all this kind of stuff. Or we would make references. I would do a seminar where I would have little clips from a movie, or parts of songs, or just common stuff. Again, it's to make a connection in somebody's mind so that they'll remember what you're talking about. And it's entertaining to some extent too.
Absolutely. Bill, do you ever, and so one thing that you mentioned a couple of times in the class that you're retired, and that was part of, that was a couple of things in your intro that I read. And I know that you've been an active musician. We've talked about your band, the Spiders, before. Is that something you're doing now on the side for fun? Is that something and have you ever put insurance lyrics to Spider tunes, or have you kept the two separate? Like, here's arts, here's insurance, or both?
Yeah. Well, Spiders are still around. We've been together for 6 years, and over time we've written some of our own material. So we're exactly right now we're in the process of transitioning to being an original songs band, and we don't play any more smoky bars. We just play music venues where people come to actually hear music. So I still enjoy doing covers, and I've always enjoyed doing the blues. So I started a blues band. I have a blues band called the Code Blues Band, with a kind of a medical
That's
thing.
Great.
We're the prescription for what ails you. We're the cure for the blues. So in fact, I am leaving a week from Saturday to go to Atlanta. Our band is playing in something called the Georgia Peach Jam in Atlanta. We're playing 5 gigs in Atlanta, and it's the first time. We've been rehearsing now for several months. It's the first time we've played out anywhere, and we're kicking that off. And now I'm doing more that. I tell people I'm semi-retired, but there's less semi every year after 9 years of semi-retirement. So I still love the industry. It's like being a firefighter. It's something that's in your blood. You just can't get rid of. I think I was meant to do what I've been doing for the last 56 years. And but I love music, always have. Like I said, I incorporated into my programs over the years, and I still do it. And it keeps me motivated. I'm 74 years old. How much time have I got left realistically? And when the pandemic happened, and I live in the Nashville area, Nashville was shut down for about a year and a half at least. There was no live music downtown Nashville. But when you got outside of Nashville, all these surrounding counties, it was anything goes. So we were always a bunch of old guys. We were playing gigs before there was even a vaccine. We'd come in and set up with masks on, and we'd take them off and play music for 3 or 4 hours, and we put the mask back on and go home. And all of these musicians and bands in Nashville weren't playing, but we were, because we're old guys. Even though we were more susceptible, I figure I'm not going to spend my final days sitting in my recliner watching Duck Dynasty reruns. I'm going to be out doing something I love to do. So I'm still doing it.
That's fantastic. I hope you don't mind me asking, but that's always something I found super interesting about you. So,
Yeah.
Bill, thanks. And Patrick, any chance we could talk to Bill about getting him back at some point real soon? Because that was a great class, and we could, Bill's fantastic.
I mean, I'm always on board with bringing Bill back for another session if we can get in between gigs. That is, unless we get the Spiders version of Bill or the Code Blue version of Bill, which would just be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, we're in Atlanta. We're playing, one of our gigs is a Halloween private event, and I'm dressing up. So next time you get me back, I'll put on all of my rock star gear with my long hair wig and my sunglasses and stuff.
Well, that's happening. That's happening sooner than later, Bill. I just want to let you know. Just
Okay.
advising you.
All right.
Bill Wilson, thank you so much for your time today, for your help, your expertise. Always great having you back. So glad to have you on the after show. Thanks for making the time to do this. Patrick, thanks for coming to the after show as well. Much appreciation to both of you. I'm in awe of both of you, so thank you so much. On behalf of our instructor, Bill Wilson, and our director, Patrick Great, this is your host, George, saying thanks, everyone, for coming to the after show, and we will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.